Hello and welcome to Connect and Collaborate. I am Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer, and we are talking about the Champions in Industry Awards. I've had several guests on that are nominees for our Champions in Industry Awards. Again, that is going to take place Monday, December 3rd at 11 a.m. till 1 o'clock p.m. at the Cable Center. Sign up for that at cobrt.com/events on December 3rd. Go ahead and click on that date and you'll be able to sign up for the award ceremony right there. In studio, well, not in studio, but by phone with me today, I have Abby Benson. She is the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation at CU Boulder for Aerospace Ventures. And if it wasn't clear, Abby is a part of a nominee in the aerospace category. So, Abby, how are you today?
I'm great, Alex. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yes, our pleasure. And we're very excited to talk to you about Aerospace Ventures. But before we get there, let's hear a little bit about you and your background and how you ended up at CU Boulder.
Sure. So I've been at CU Boulder for about 6 years, but I spent the first almost 4 years of that time in Washington, D.C. So I actually stood up a Washington, D.C. office for the university back in 2012. To maximize our engagement with both Congress and federal officials, both at the agency level and at the White House and other players in Washington. And a lot of what I did in that role centered around space and aerospace because those are some of the biggest research portfolios we have on the campus. Before that time, I was the assistant director of MIT's Washington office, so I was doing a similar work as I did at CU for MIT. Paying, slightly different portfolio, but same kind of effort, making sure that university research was known in Washington and people understood the value of it at research being conducted all over the country at universities.
That's amazing.
For that time, go ahead.
Oh, no, just that's amazing work that you do, and we've really come a long way in the legislative and government sector as far as aerospace is concerned. So thank you for contributing to that.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Colorado is such a dynamic state. There's so much happening here that it's been really fun to not only represent CU, but also work with our industry and government partners to share the collective story about everything that's happening here in the state in Washington.
Nice. And I will let you continue with your path that you were on before MIT.
I was just going to mention that before that time, I had spent about 10 years in the U.S. Coast Guard. And one of my tours was actually in Washington, D.C. That's when I got interested in the legislative and appropriations process because I was working for the Coast Guard trying to build their budget and talk about it on Capitol Hill and get funding for the critical assets of the service. And that's how I got introduced to Washington, D.C. And all the exciting ways that you can influence national dialogue and national policy.
Which is no easy feat, and you are doing an extremely good job at that, and it seems that it's something that you have been passionate about for a long time, at least.
It really is. I have a personal passion for science policy and space policy, and that really started when I began my time in Washington. And even though I'm not in D.C. anymore, I'm now on the Boulder campus working on corporate relationships with the university. It's still very much relevant to everything we do. Because national policy, science policy influences federal investments in research and development, and a lot of our corporate partnerships are aligned around those areas of federal investment trying to solve complex problems. So, the triad of academia, government, and industry is really a powerful one. So I enjoy working at the interface of that.
Which is lovely. I know that something we're very passionate about is education and public policy here at the Colorado Business Roundtable. So we definitely support you and your endeavors on connecting company and policy and education.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed working with your organization and also when I was in D with the Business Roundtable. So it's great to have multiple voices going and sharing the same message. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Our pleasure. So let's talk about CU Boulder and the Aerospace Ventures program there. If you want to just give an overview for our audience, please.
I'd be happy to. So Aerospace Ventures is an initiative that was started back in 2013. And the idea back when it was started was to try to bring all the groups on the CU Boulder campus that were doing aerospace-related work together to figure out how to better collaborate across the campus on research and education projects and priorities, but also to figure out how to interface more effectively with industry. So we had several founding members, industry members that were part of Aerospace Ventures. That has since expanded widely. But the idea is to realize that we have great strengths in aerospace on the campus, but they're not all in one department or one unit. In fact, we have 20-plus departments, institutes, centers working on aerospace-related things. So in order to collaborate better with each other and also with our external partners, we created ASV to bring everybody together. So I have...
go ahead.
There's a core group of about 11 departments and institutes that the chairs of those departments and the heads of those institutes on campus get together once a month and talk about the research they're doing and talk about shared initiatives. And also we update each other on partnerships that we're building externally and try to work on priorities for the campus together where we want to bring that multidisciplinary approach in. So it's been a very effective vehicle, both internally and externally, to the campus.
I would imagine, yeah, that's exciting. So obviously there was a need for you guys to form together, with your 20 different areas that were already working on aerospace. And as we know, Colorado is #1 per capita in aerospace in the nation. So I'm sure that CU Boulder saw that coming and took great pains to make sure that they had some aerospace programs available. But the Aerospace Ventures program, is that the correct term that I should be using?
I think initiative is a better term. It's been ongoing for a while, but it's really, we do have some programmatic elements, but we call it an initiative on campus.
Wonderful. Well, that initiative is definitely one that needed to transpire, and it looks like it's doing well. What are you currently working on right now?
Well, I want to mention one thing which I think is relevant to your comments, which is not necessarily that CU sort of saw that there was this aerospace industry growing and decided to tailor programs to suit it. I would say that CU's been there along with the aerospace industry since really the 1950s, building their aerospace expertise. So although the university was founded in 1876, we started teaching aerospace engineering in 1929, and we created we were home of the Upper Air Laboratory in 1948, which turned into the Laboratory for Atmospheric and Space Physics in 1956. So we were really developing as a university the strength area while you had aerospace companies creating their presence in Colorado. So we're really proud of the fact that it's been a joint venture between academia and industry here. So I just wanted to clarify that.
I appreciate that. Yes, thank you.
And actually, some folks don't know this, but Ball Aerospace is actually a spin-out of the University of Colorado. So they were formed in 1956. A bunch of people that were at the Upper Air Laboratory formed Ball Aerospace. So that was the foundation of our incredibly fruitful partnership that exists today. So you asked what we're working on now. Well, I can mention a few things. One of the things that we try to do is provide regular touch points for the community to the University of Colorado Boulder. We do this in a few ways. One is our Aerospace Ventures Day. So we have had 5 Aerospace Ventures Days since ASV's been in existence, and we're going to have our next one in the spring. But the goal of this day is to have an annual showcase of research happening at the university where we bring in our researchers working across a wide variety of aerospace capabilities to present on their research, and we invite our industry partners to come listen to that research, and we provide networking opportunities to talk about problems that they might want to approach collaboratively. So Aerospace Ventures Day is just one day, but we like to think that it's an annual showcase that spurs relationship building throughout the rest of the year. And we have a staff at CU that can help navigate, when we're not Aerospace Ventures Day, when we're doing other things, we can help navigate those partnerships. We also have an Aerospace Ventures career day. So this year we called it Aerospace Ventures Connect. It historically has been part of Aerospace Ventures Day. This year we decided to do a separate event because it was really popular, where we invite aerospace companies to come and we invite students from aerospace-related departments at CU. And instead of kind of the large career fairs that we have at CU, where we have hundreds of companies and thousands of students trying to meet each other, we have a much more tailored, customized career fair experience for students that are particularly interested in working in aerospace and companies that are in the aerospace sector to come together, share resumes, network, and really build those personal connections that we think is very valuable for our students in their career development. So those are some of our two kind of annual things that we do. We also have a series of professional development seminars throughout the year that are aimed at our aerospace students, but usually the speakers are from the aerospace industry. So we bring in speakers from our corporate partners. We'll bring in speakers from startup companies that are in the aerospace sector. We'll bring in government speakers. But the goal of this is to really provide our students with content that they might not get in the classroom that's incredibly relevant to them as they prepare to enter the aerospace sector. So we might have a session on what it's like to work in the classified space at a large aerospace company, or we'll have a session on what it's like to be at an aerospace startup, or we'll just have a general session about skills that are useful for students to know when they enter into the workforce at an aerospace company. So we find those to be really great opportunities, again, to bring in industry and have them interacting with our students in an informal way, but sharing perspective that might be useful for the students when they're applying for those jobs when they graduate.
Most definitely. I like that last program quite a bit, actually. It's something that not every college does, but providing those sessions for students that are going to get into these areas and giving them that hands-on work is wonderful that you guys provide that. How neat.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited. I would say that our academic programs are very hands-on normally. You know, we've got students literally building satellites, building sensors, conducting mission operations. So this is just in addition to that. So they're getting a hands-on experience, but then they're also able to interact with industry in a number of different ways to get even better prepared when they're trying to enter the sector. So, and it's because aerospace is so strong at CU, we're able to take this sector-based approach for aerospace and defense. I think ideally we'd like to do that with other sectors. We're not quite there, but it's been a really natural fit to do this in the aerospace and defense world, given all we have going on campus in that area.
Interesting. I don't know that I would have thought about it that way, but you're totally right. It is something that just would inherently go with the aerospace sector. Yes. So I actually also want to talk to you about, in May 2018, you co-hosted the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade and the Colorado Space Business Roundtable on an inaugural aerospace investment forum. How was that for you?
You know, that was great. We, as you know, Boulder and Colorado they're both just very entrepreneurial ecosystems, both in Boulder and Denver and also around the state. And so we have this great strength in entrepreneurship and innovation and startup companies, and then we have this great strength in aerospace and defense capabilities on the academic side. And what we as a university would like to see, I think you'll hear this from our Dean of Engineering, Bobby Braun, and from our Vice Chancellor for Research, Terry Fees, we want our students to be kind of thinking about starting companies and thinking about what opportunities are out there in the more entrepreneurial space. And we also are always trying to take the pulse of what's happening in our community in the entrepreneurial space. And one of the things we heard a lot of, and I know that this was the same for the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade, is that when small companies start, they're often looking for an investment. And aerospace companies tend to be a little tougher because they require more capital requirements, and they tend to have kind of longer, more complex timelines and problems than, say, an app developer or a natural food developer. And so they're is a sense that there's not as much of that investment. The investors that are willing to look at companies that are a little more complex. Here in Colorado, there's a lot of that investment on the West Coast and the East Coast. And the idea that this forum came out of was, hey, how do we get more attention paid to what's happening in Colorado so we can encourage more startups to stay here, let them feel that they can get investment here and continue to grow here. So after speaking quite a bit with Jay Lindell at OEdit, who's our aerospace champion for the state, and also the Colorado Space Business Roundtable, we decided that we would host a forum to try to get perspective from both startup companies and small business owners, and also investors, local investors, and some investors that have invested in the aerospace space world, to talk about what the challenges are, with the idea that we want it to be a really open forum. And as a university, we really love facilitating conversations like this to identify some shared concerns and shared challenges, and hopefully some solutions about how to increase awareness of what's happening in Colorado to investors. So we had this initial forum. It was really great. We got lots of good feedback. I think we learned things that we knew, and we learned things that we didn't know. And I don't think it will be the last one. We're already talking about trying to host another one in the spring, and trying to identify what roles organizations like ASV or the Colorado Space Business Roundtable or OEdit can play to try to address some of the challenges that were identified in this forum. So we were really excited to host it at CU, and it definitely has spurred lots of conversations since then, and it won't be the end.
It definitely won't be the end. I have a quick question for you. You mentioned that getting that capital is really tough for aerospace companies. Is there a difference between private aerospace and government aerospace-based companies? Does that change the capital, getting that capital?
Well, I think one thing that is different is in aerospace, because there are so many large aerospace and defense companies that are closely tied with the government. They have venture arms that are always looking at startups and technologies coming out of universities to figure out how they can incorporate that into their business model. So I think one avenue for investment, there's traditional venture capital in that path, but I think another avenue for investment that's different in the aerospace sector is that a lot of the prime contractors are always interested in understanding what startups are out there. So I think it's different in that way, that there may be some more options. I think also a lot of aerospace companies are looking at things like SBIR, STTR programs, which are government programs, as ways to build their company in that initial phase. And there are more opportunities for that in aerospace and defense than there might be for some of the other sectors that I mentioned earlier. So I think that's probably the big difference.
Thank you. I appreciate your outlook on that. And you mentioned that you're not done here, and you are sort of working on something for next year as far as a forum like this is concerned. Do you plan to partner again with OEdit and CSBR on that, or are you looking? Yeah.
No, we would absolutely be happy to. Again, I think the university role is really one of facilitator. Because I think we're a neutral space to bring government and industry and academia together to talk about some of these tough problems. There have been conversations about what programs or roles that CSBR or OEdit could take on to provide concrete resources for companies. There are some that exist out there, like the Advanced Industries Program is a great program that the state sponsors to support smaller companies trying to develop. But I think we could do more work to highlight the companies that are here and the investment need that is here, and try to bring investors, or at least shift their attention to Colorado. So we certainly are happy to be a facilitator and look forward to being part of any initiatives that exist out there to provide resources to companies. I think a lot from a university standpoint, a lot of our focus is on making sure our students have access to entrepreneurial experiences and things like our new Venture Challenge competition, which is a 9-month competition where a student can come with an idea, and at the end of 9 months, they've spent time talking to mentors and building business plans. So we're really focused on students, and then also on the technology transfer process, which tends to be faculty that have exciting inventions, and how do those get commercialized. So we have our own kind of sliver of what we're spending most of our effort on, but we know that the whole ecosystem is dependent on a variety of different players and sizes of companies and sources of companies. So we certainly want to continue to be a convener of that conversation.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to seeing who all is coming to that forum next year. We have about 4 minutes left here. I want to ask you a little bit more about your Aerospace Venture Day. And you've said that it's happening in the spring of 2019. What can we look forward to on that Aerospace Ventures Day?
So the Aerospace Ventures Day in the spring of 19 will focus on a lot of what it has in the past, which is showcasing our cutting-edge research, but our cutting-edge research is changing all the time. So we have some really exciting initiatives on campus. We have a new Space Weather Center that was just funded out of our Grand Challenge initiative. So trying to bring together capabilities at CU to not only understand better what's happening in space weather, but helping prediction and mitigation as much as possible of events, but really focused on kind of modeling and prediction and forecasting. So I think you'll hear from the Space Weather Center. We also have a number in our College of Engineering of interdisciplinary research themes that have been growing and coalescing around multidisciplinary areas of research that are important to aerospace and defense and lots of other industries. But I would say on the aerospace and defense side, we've got an autonomous systems interdisciplinary research theme that's of great interest. We also have multifunctional materials, and we have a quantum interdisciplinary research theme. So these are areas, we have others, but these are ones that I think we hear a lot about from our aerospace partners of being of great interest. So we'll certainly be highlighting those. So it's a wonderful opportunity to come to campus, get updates on latest, greatest research breakthroughs and areas of interest, and build connections for partners on campus that you might want to, companies might want to work with, whether it's sponsoring research or hiring students or looking at technology transfer. But really the goal is just to create a breeding ground for connections. So that's what you'll see at Aerospace Ventures Day in the spring.
That is exciting stuff, Abby. I appreciate that. Next couple minutes here, tell me where I can find more information if I want to be a student, if I want to get involved as a business to help you guys out with one of these forums. Where can I find more information?
So we have a website. It's www.colorado.edu/aerospace ventures. And there you can find some information on our specific capabilities and technologies where CU Boulder really excels. If you're a student, you can sign up for our student update list and get information about our upcoming professional development series seminars. If you're industry, you can find out information about different ways to partner with us, whether it's sponsoring research or coming to an ASV event or sponsoring a student project. There are a number of different ways, and so there's some information on that website there as well. But most importantly, you can always contact me. I've got a great team that supports Aerospace Ventures, and we're also co-located on campus with the CU Office of Industry Collaboration because a lot of what we do overlaps with their work. So we have a great team of veteran employees that have spent time in industry and in the military that really have a perspective that's different than your traditional academic perspective. So please feel free to contact us at any time, and we're here to really help partners navigate the university, and it's something we're all really passionate about. So our website is a great place to start. Always you can contact me or any member of my team, and we'll try to identify ways for you to plug into the university in as easy a way as possible.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Again, this is Abby Benson. She is Assistant Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation at CU Boulder Aerospace Ventures. Abby, we wish you guys the best of luck at our Champions in Industry Awards ceremony. Again, that is Monday, December 3rd at the Cable Center at 11 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. If you have not signed up for that, check out our events page. Abby, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex. We're really honored to be nominated for the award, and we really look forward to the event. So thanks so much for having me on.
Of course. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You too.